One of the great traditions at the Haas School is choosing the commencement speaker, and I turn to that now. Each year we call upon an alumna or an alumnus of uncommon distinction to address this, our graduating class. In choosing the commencement speaker, we seek a person who embodies a commitment to excellence, a distinguished record of achievement. In the Berkeley Haas tradition, we also seek an individual who personifies those four defining principles. Question the status quo, confidence without attitude, students always, and beyond yourself. Today is a real pleasure for me to introduce to you our speaker, Chou. Kevin is an outstanding example of someone who explores those degrees of freedom that he discovered at Berkeley that I mentioned earlier. Kevin told us that when he arrived at Berkeley, it opened the world to him. He had to work hard on his academics, but he graduated magna cum laude, and the experience steeled him for the rigors of starting a company for entrepreneurship. He got to go on an international exchange program to Hong Kong, which broadened his perspective to a global scale. And finally, he met his future business partners through Berkeley. In 2006, Kevin co-founded Kabam, a mobile gaming company with fellow Berkeley alums Mike Lee and Holly Liu. To this day, he serves as CEO of Kabam. Kabam is headquartered in San Francisco. It has about 800 employees worldwide, including many Berkeley grads. Annual revenues around $400 million. Since its first blockbuster game, Kingdoms of Camelot, Kabam has had many more hits, including most recently, Star Wars Uprising. In 2014, Kevin was named to Fortune magazine's annual 40 Under 40 list of the business world's most influential young leaders. Kabam this year celebrates its 10th anniversary. Congratulations on this great achievement, Kevin. You are truly a remarkable young leader. Kevin and his co-founders have remained loyal to their alma mater. In 2014, Kabam signed a 15-year sponsorship deal to name Kabam Field at California Memorial Stadium, very close to us here. The agreement also includes scholarship and internship programs for Berkeley students, the concept of the scholar athlete. In spite of all Kevin has achieved, he is one of the most humble people I have ever met. He leads with confidence, but never with attitude. He questioned the status quo when he placed his bet on mobile gaming at a time when games were played on consoles. His curiosity in the world makes him a student, always. He goes above and beyond himself in his generosity in supporting the young leaders coming out of Berkeley. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to our Chou.
Wow, that was quite an introduction. Dean Lyons, you know how to do them. Members of the faculty, proud parents, class, and above all, class of 2016. Today is your day. Congratulations. Well, if your parents are here today and they've been writing the checks for the last 4 years, it's kind of their day too. In 2002, I remember sitting in these very chairs at my own, thank you very much, at my own Haas graduation. I thought I was on top of the world. It was 8 months past the tragedies of 9/11, 2001, and while the global economy was falling apart, I had somehow scored a coveted investment banking job. I could see it in my mind, killing it at complex financial models, closing big deals, and never being poor again. Fast forward another 12 months, I had been laid off, along with 20% of the banking division. Not only that, but those 12 months have been some of the most miserable in my life. Where I'd expected to do complex financial models, I was spending all my sleepless days and nights changing font sizes and colors in a PowerPoint presentation. For those of you going into banking, I'm sure there's a lot of you, I hear it's pretty different these days, and I wish for you a much better experience than I had. Unemployed, I spent my days playing video games and online poker to pay the rent. Thankfully, my roommates were still gainfully employed, at their banking jobs, and they were kind enough to spend their dinner stipends buying some extra food for me. As an aside, the friends you make at Haas are truly special. Keep them close. Needless to say, though, I felt like a total failure. 6 months into my unemployment, there were a few jobs that I was beginning to seriously consider a career in online poker. But then I stumbled across a job posting for an account management role at a startup called Telefia. The company was not well known, but it was a technology startup in an area that I was interested in, mobile data science. So I interviewed despite not knowing or not being particularly interested in account management or really knowing what the heck that job was. And during the interview, I immediately hit it off with my hiring manager, Jesse Goranson, who would go on to be a tremendous mentor to me on my time at Telefia and well beyond. Little did I know that that would be the turning point in my career. I had previously gone into investment banking not because I cared much about the firm, the mission, or even the people that I met there, but because it was prestigious and competitive to get in. It's what I thought I was supposed to do coming out of Haas. Instead, I went to a no-name startup because I knew I could learn from the amazing people there and be given some real responsibility. It was at that point that I truly began to grow. I learned tremendously from my mentor and followed him across 2 promotions until a college friend of mine introduced me to a partner at the Silicon Valley venture firm Canaan Partners. I joined as partner as an associate and spent the next 2 years learning like crazy before she seed funded a company called Water Cooler. I'm sure you've never heard of a company called Water Cooler until this very moment. I started Water Cooler in 2006, along with 2 Cal friends. I was 26 years old, working with my best friends late into the night, and I loved it. We built our first product in 30 days. It was a social network for employees, think Yammer, but really not as well done. When we launched the product, we switched our focus to getting users. We followed a startup playbook and did non-scalable things, which is a fancy way of saying we begged our friends to use our crappy product. We also tried growth hacking, which is known as spamming your address book. We hit up all the press outlets, we did all community marketing through Craigslist, Reddit, Dig, etc. 6 months later, we found ourselves with a mere 2,000 users, if you can call them users, if they sign up once and never use your product again. We went back to the drawing board with a lot of learning and rebooted the product. The numbers started looking better, and we began to be hopeful. Then suddenly, we got a phone call from a lawyer at Ernst & Young. Ernst & Young was one of our largest communities with over 500 active users. IT had found out about our service and shut us down at their company. 2 other companies followed suit a few weeks later, and at this point, we had just 5 months of runway left, and I anguished. Should I shut the company down and return the money to our founders or to the investors? Well, we weren't ready to give up yet. My co-founders and I took our learnings, brainstormed new ideas, and with the clock ticking, we built a minimal viable product for sports on Facebook. Grinding it out 7 days, we got a new product out with just a few months of cash in the bank. We released it to Facebook, and it absolutely took off. Whereas it had taken us 6 months to get 2,000 users for our first product, we got 2,000 users in the first day. The next month, we got 1 million users. This was the day before cloud computing, so the servers literally melted in our closet. We spent all day and all night for 2 days trying to get the service back up, borrowing servers from our friends, working around the clock. Whereas a month earlier, we were about to go bankrupt, suddenly VCs were coming out of the woodwork and trying to fund the company, and within 2 weeks, we had raised our Series A. Instead of having to lay off the entire company, we started hiring like crazy, did deals with the NBA, NHL, and several NFL teams. That was a lot of fun. We grew revenues to over $3 million a year. Nicely profitable, we started to invest in some new business lines, like lightweight games for big sponsors around March Madness, fantasy football. Over the next year, we continued to grow our user base rapidly. However, little did I realize that the financial world was about to collapse. As our revenues grew, so did our spending, so in mid-2008, I began to raise a Series B. We signed a high valuation term sheet with a great VC, along with all the long-form legal docs. I thought the deal was done. Then, the week before the wire was to be issued, the Fed announced that they were bailing out a company called Bear Stearns and another financial firm called AIG. Not good. The week that we were supposed to close our funding, a bank called Lehman Brothers collapsed. The day we were supposed to close our financing came and passed, no wire, no email. I called, then called again, no response. A week later, I got an email saying, sorry, the money's not coming. It ultimately took me 9 months to raise our Series B. I was turned down by every single Silicon Valley venture investor. Eventually, I found a UK sports company that was looking to expand to the US and put in a little bit of money. While this was our lifeline, having been told no 90 different times in 90 very, very creative ways, I learned to realize that the business of ad-supported apps wasn't going to work. So instead, we bet the entire company on games. We saw the signs of gaming becoming an incredible business, and putting 3 years of hard work, 20 people's jobs, and our last few millions of dollars of cash in the bank, I decided to divide our team into two and create two games, a sports game and a strategy game. We launched the sports game first, the product everyone thought would be a better business because of our history. It did okay, not great enough to save the company. 8 weeks later, we were about to launch a strategy game, and we invited 20 of our friends to come and play the game to get their thoughts. Every single one of our friends told us that our game looked terrible, and they saw no reason to play it. We, as a Hail Mary, we decided to polish up the art a little bit more and publish it on Facebook anyway. Within 30 minutes, we had our first customer pay us $50, and that game would go on to do $30 million in the next 12 months. We went from 0 to 30 million in 12 months. That was a lot of fun. So we raised our Series B, and then we changed the name of the company from Water Cooler to Kabam. You may recognize the name Kabam if you go to football games at Memorial Stadium, and it was our way as the founders of giving back to the university that made Kabam possible. Thank you very much, everyone. Thinking back to my college self 14 years ago, I didn't know I would face so many challenges or experience the rocket ship of Kabam. But looking back, I wouldn't change anything about my path because I learned so much from every single step. Though there are a number of things I wish our commencement speaker talked about when I was sitting here. So I hope these 4 points will be useful for you as you start your career path. First, honesty with yourself. At this critical moment in your life, have you asked yourself, are you honestly figuring out your own path, or are you taking a path that others have pointed out for you? Well, I never thought that at Haas I would pursue a career in gaming. If you were to ask my 10-year-old self, it would have been obvious. I would have been an astronaut or a professional video game player. To this day, passion for games continues to be a key ingredient for success making games. Second, your first job as a learning experience. You may find your first job out of college just really sucks. You might fail at it. I did both. Rise above it. Much like you didn't let low marks on your first exam at Cal define your entire experience here, neither will your first job be the end-all, be-all of your career. I guarantee it. Third, learn with every step. As you navigate your career after your first couple of jobs, learn about what makes you thrive and what doesn't. From this day forward, your primary learning will not come from people whose titles are professor or teacher. Fourth, beyond yourself. Take a moment to look around at the friends you've made here at Cal. You will be the biggest enablers in each other's lives, in your careers and life's many pursuits. Three of Kabam's founders are from Cal, and all three of us believe in giving back to the people and communities that got us to where we are. Also, if you have a meal stipend, remember to feed others when they're hitting a rough patch. Every one of you, Haas class of 2016, has gone through one of the most rigorous selection processes in the world to get to this highly regarded, globally ranked program. And by the way, Wharton has nothing on us, I guarantee. You've had the benefit of the best educators in the world. Let's give a big hand to this faculty and leadership. All of them have been on a mission to create the next generation of leaders that redefine how the world does business. I guarantee you, because you've been through the gauntlet here at Cal and then at Haas, that you're ready to make a big impact in whatever you put your mind to. I shared with you the story of water cooler today because it's my own personal journey of trying to live the Haas defining principle of student always. To me, being a student always is about never taking any apparent success or failure at face value, but rather learning from every one of your experiences and using that learning to develop yourself for whatever lies ahead of you. The great leaders amongst us are not those that have vastly different experiences, but instead extract more from every experience than others. Thank you, Dean Lyons, for that quote, by the way. I wish for you that type of success, and I believe that path is summarized by 1, honesty with yourself, 2, your first job as a learning experience, 3, learning with every single step, 4, beyond yourself. I'll leave you with one last thought from Mark Twain. Anyone who stops learning is old, whether 20 or 80. Anyone who keeps learning stays young. The greatest thing you can do is to keep your mind young. I wish for each and every one of you, class of 2016, a brilliant life, full of achievement, contribution, and forever a young mind. Congratulations. Go Bears!